Good afternoon, everybody. So again, my name is Todd Crosslin, Global Industry Principal, Healthcare and Life Sciences at Snowflake. I am based in Texas. My first time in Halifax, but I feel like I already know you, and you're going to find out why that is here in a little while. While I am a Texan, I have lived in Canada. I have a favorite hockey team, which I'm not going to mention. I'm heard that might not go over really well in this audience. But happy to be here. Over my 30-plus year career, I used to work way back in the day with PharmaNet in BC, which now is HealthNet and other variety of things. So I've spent a good amount of time, not just in Canada around healthcare and life sciences, but throughout the Commonwealth. I spent time in Australia, New Zealand, and other places. So while I would say that the majority of my time has been in the US, I would say that healthcare and life sciences have challenges all around the world. And I've been fortunate enough to spend time with many of our 1,500 plus healthcare life sciences customers throughout the world, and very honored to be here and speak with you all today. So you kind of saw the title there. I have spent time with my friend. You all are going to meet Coco, okay? Coco is a girl. Not everyone agrees with me on this. But if anyone knows Chanel, then knows that Coco must be a girl, okay? So, Coco is Snowflake's coding agent. You've heard of Claude, you've heard of Cursor, right? From a Snowflake perspective, we have Coco. She's different, and we'll get into that. By the way, if we have time, I'm told I better have time, that for best question, and it's gonna be tough, because someone's gonna want this bear, okay? These bears are very popular. So be thinking about what your question is, and there is no way I'm going to be well liked by everyone. I have a feeling near the end of this, but just know that there is a bear at play. Okay? All right. So you're going to meet Coco, and again, she is an agent. What makes her different? I like to say that she is an insanely smart Snowflake engineer with massive ADD. Okay? If anyone has used a coding agent, you know that they have ADD. That's a given. Okay? But she's really, really smart about Snowflake, but she's also smart about the world. And that's kind of the beauty and the danger of having access to AI, is that with great power comes great responsibility. Okay? And what did it build? So, as I told you, I learned a lot about Halifax and overall Atlantic Canada by spending just 2 hours, me and Coco hanging out, and building together. And the phrase of, you can just build things. Any one of you in this room can just build things, okay? So my main thing here, I am a pharmacy technician by trade, if you go back to my youth, right? I am a data geek, I'm a former CIO, right? A former SVP of engineering. But I want you to know in the last 4 months, and you'll see some things that I've built, I did not write one line of code. 0. Period. Okay? If you want me to code something, it'll be in Fortran. I'm going to age myself for some of you out there. Okay? So I don't think I have to tell you guys any of this. I've actually had dinner with some of you last night, and while the median age is 44 and you have an aging population, there's also a bunch of cranes going on outside these doors, and there's a bunch of building, and there's a big resurgence, at least here in Halifax, correct? So I believe that median age is probably starting to edge down. But you still have an aging population. And how do we serve those? And you guys have somewhat of I think everybody has a healthcare crisis of some type, right? And so how do we address that, and how does AI help us to do that? Okay? But I think you guys get I don't have to tell you guys this story. You guys live it. But as with everybody in the world, you have a data problem. Okay, call them PDF prisons, legacy formats. In speaking with some of you, I get it. I know that you have data locked up in silos, and that sometimes there's a fear of letting that data out. How good is the quality of that data, right? Do we have enough data? And can we solve these problems? And so one of the things that AI allows you to do, and this was a big unlock for a lot of people that I've worked with in many years, is that in order to prove something that there's a potential to solve a problem, you don't necessarily need all of that real data to form a hypothesis. And so really quick, so you know that I'm not making up and using vaporware, Coco and I sat down at the beginning of our 2 hours and we said, what public data is available about Atlantic Canada? And she went out and got it, okay? I didn't go FTP anything. I didn't go click on a download and download a spreadsheet or any of that, okay? Within 5 to 10 minutes, every bit of statistical data that you see there that is relative to policy gaps, here we go, I'm starting to give away what we're gonna talk about, okay? How do we have policy gaps that are missing out on opportunities to serve rural communities or something like that? So I had her go out and start to form a hypothesis and say, hey, what's going on? Go grab the statistics for Atlantic Canada. So there's your reference. But what I didn't have, I don't live here. I'm not part of your healthcare establishment. I don't have all the PHI sensitive data. In the age of AI, to prove a point, a hypothesis, you don't need all of that in the beginning. You're going to need it, but you don't need it immediately. So what did I do? I said, Coco, create a synthetic data set that represents these statistics. So if I go back to here, and we've seen the crisis in numbers, we've seen that, right? Here we go. So what I need to do is I need to say, what are Canadian social determinants of health? Let's go get that, okay? I need to have a data model, Odyssey OMOP, if anyone's heard of it. Odyssey OMOP is a common data model. What makes it different than HL7 and FHIR for you, some of your healthcare people, some of you not, is that our old school way of thinking is transactional. The way we need to think about healthcare is longitudinally, is over time. What are the pathways over time that people move in and out of? To do that, we need longitudinal data. Longitudinal data and the OMOP data model is complex. It is hard. Prior to me and Coco digging into it, I'm not the one to do OMOP. I'm not a machine learning expert. I am not a data scientist. Am I now? Yes. Why? Because of Coco, right? It wasn't like I've learned more in the last 4 months in machine learning than I could even imagine. So think about that as if you're a subject matter expert and you know that data anecdotally, but you're scared of going longitudinal. Don't be afraid anymore. It's one prompt away. It's one question, one conversation away with AI to get to that. Okay, so my thing here, don't be afraid, right? I should have said really quick, I'm gonna give you a visual. What is Snowflake? Some of you may not even know, okay? So Snowflake is this platform that basically says, give me your data, you're tired, you're weak, you're poor, right? Give me all your data, bring it across, and have a place to store it that is safe, it is governed, it is secure. Some of the most sensitive data in the world, I was the first one to put PHI in Snowflake in 2016, okay? The world's most sensitive data, genomic data, right? You name it, clinical trials data, sits in Snowflake for over 1,500 customers globally. So we have to earn, I'd like to believe we've earned trust, right? So store that, but now we need insight. We need AI to come over that. We bring AI to the data. We don't say, send your data to the foundational models, okay? Sovereign, keep it here in Canada, okay? Alberta Health Services here earlier, or Alberta, provincially was here earlier and represented. AHS, big Snowflake customer, trusted over, 6 years now, I think, and full data sovereignty here in Canada. So I just want to quickly just show you that, the platform, so you can kind of have a sense for what Snowflake is. We sit on top of AWS, Google, Azure, okay? We're not our own cloud. We run off of the cloud of others as one platform. So I just want to quickly show you that, right? Okay. So what did I do? I said, okay, go to Atlantic Canada data, go get the statistics, and let's go form a hypothesis. What is it that we can do? How can we look at longitudinal journeys of patients throughout Atlantic Canada, and how can we use a combination of AI, using large language models, to generate a machine learning model that says, here's a prediction, here's a trajectory, here's a policy gap. Okay, and so all of this is just, and really quick, here you go. There's Coco right there. Okay, it's simply text. It's simply me typing and having a conversation with the agent. That's it, very straightforward. There's a lot of technical parts to this. I'm gonna leave all that out, okay? So basically, and the beauty here is that I'd already built a model for the state of Mississippi around infant mortality. If you didn't know, there's a huge crisis in Mississippi around infant mortality. It's horrible, Okay, 15 out of every 1,000 African American babies in Mississippi do not make it to their first birthday. So we're trying to help solve that. So Coco and I had built a model for that. That's a mother-infant model. Okay, it's beautiful. But then I said, I think we can use this for Atlantic Canada. In Mississippi, it's a micro model, meaning I'm looking at specific mothers and infants. In Atlantic Canada, I did a macro model. I want to look at the population. Okay? Remember, all the things I'm saying, don't think I coded this, guys. Like, I just had a conversation, right, with Coco to say, how do we build this? And she did. And where are policies failing? And these are just meant, the dots are, and you'll see these dots again. Everybody's on these journeys, okay? And what AI and ML allows you to do is to lay out where are people on these common journeys together. And so what does that look like? Okay, so I synthetically generated 50,000 patients, humans, neighbors of all of you. Some of you could be represented in that individual data, and said, make it statistically match what is going on in Atlantic Canada. And then let's figure out what are the common trajectories, okay? How can we put people in these common trajectories and identify as a group of Atlantic Canada, what are my policy gaps? This is probably somewhat anecdotal. There may be some people in the room and others that know that rural Cape Breton, someone knows I pronounced that right, see? If you look at it, what the model said was you have people that are diabetic, that have no access to, because it's super rural, right? And so that don't have access to virtual education about diabetes. There is no community health worker outreach, and there's a need for transport subsidy, right? Some of you may anecdotally know that. Some of you may disagree with that. But here's the beauty. In 2 hours, I got all your statistical data. I synthetically created 50,000 representative synthetic humans, and then came up with these are policy gaps for different regions, going back to the trajectories. And now, what do you have? Okay, you have a conversation. You have an ability to go and have a conversation, right, with people who create policy. And then you have a reason to say, give me the real data. Because in 2 hours, I've created something that if you give me the real data, I can help you go solve this problem, okay? We just did it in Mississippi, okay? After I showed a shared trajectory of 2 mothers and babies that survived and 3 that did not, he said, sold. Let's go do it. That picture. So it can be that powerful. So yours is on a macro level. It doesn't tug as much at the heartstrings, right? But in the end, all of you may have a grandparent, may have a brother, a sister, whatever that is impacted by a policy gap, okay? So is it as just insanely impactful as that visual right there? Because what we want to do, and what the head of the state health department in Mississippi said, why did those 2 make it? And what's different? Because their trajectory was very similar. They had the same challenges of a food desert, of transport problems, of no prenatal care, right? Low birth weight. Whatever all of these commonalities were, why did 2 of them make it? And in a horrible instance, if you see other groups, if I scroll down a little bit, this is what AI allows you to build, is this beautiful map of commonality. Guys, I didn't code this, okay? I'm gonna say it like 50 times. Like, you have a curiosity and you say, hey, I have this data, okay? And I did the same thing in Mississippi. I had all the statistical data, and then I created the mother-infant dyad data. And then when they looked at it and they said, okay, is this stuff right? When the head of the health department looked at this, he's like, none of those counties are green. They're all at least yellow, orange, or red. So he knew that what I'd created wasn't perfect. But he also knew that when it gets down to those trajectories and to those situations like I talked about, and you go grab one of these, then you find those scenarios. And so he said, at the end of the meeting, I got 5 counties to his chief of staff, go do it right now. And so that's what's happening. Okay? Make sense? All right. So that's the power of a platform. That's the power of the fact that, and what we try to do from a Snowflake perspective is say, I want you to get MVP. It's called minimum viable product. I want you to sit as a subject, imagine you have a subject matter expert. You have a partner like Kanos, sorry, that was just horrible shout out, right? And then you have Coco, right? And if three people, I call it the three-legged stool, sit down in a room together, and the subject matter expert says, I hypothesize X, whatever that is. And the engineer says, hi, Coco, let's go get some data around that, whatever's publicly available. And by the way, if you're already in Snowflake and you already have a bunch of sensitive data, you're already a head start. You've already accelerated. You have access to that data, and Coco knows where it is in Snowflake. So she'd be like, all right, let's go. Let's talk about it. She can write, get technical, SQL, Python, okay? And go out and just start to work with that data. And then you generate your hypothesis and say, okay, now we know we have a problem. And if you have the real data, you can now objectively state, okay, Cape Breton has a horrible problem, right? But then you can say, why? And then you get into models, and then you get into figuring out why is it failing, right? Why are we failing? And that's the beauty of sitting there with a three-legged stool. Your subject matter expert has those anecdotal, like a lot of people are like, you've got this in your head and you have these thoughts like, I think it's this or I think it's that. Let's find out. And what can happen when you unleash AI is you create those trajectories and you figure out what's going on. And in the end, and I was like, okay, do I bring this up? It'll work or it won't work. It's not perfect right now. But this is what the future, what I see as the future of what AI means, is that if you agree to get the clinical data in and you start to track people, okay, and this is based off the Dunedin, if you ever want to look up the Dunedin model or the registry in New Zealand, beautiful, and this is what this is based on. They tracked X thousands of individuals over a lifespan. And what you're able to do with that is to watch people move from resilient to high utilization chronic, and and there's all these technical medical terms, right? But this is what you can do with AI. Every one of you, I want to be super clear about that. Any one of you can sit down with Coco and say, go get me synthetic data, go make it longitudinal, and go watch it move over time. And now, how can we take that information and let's go solve a problem? And so that's the power of what you have, right, with AI. Cool? All right. I did it. So the hard part about this, every time I'm presenting right now, every time it's unique because everything's changing so fast. I created this yesterday, okay? And it's still not perfect, right? It's kind of shooting off the bottom of the deal. So I'm fighting with Coco right now about making the bubbles and the dots fit. So it's not perfect, okay? But I think it shows kind of what I'm trying to get across here, okay? But I did it, I wanted to have 2 minutes left and somehow I did, but every time it's like different. So, okay, all right. This is impossible, someone's gonna get mad at me. Someone has a question. Okay, sorry, it was close. Okay, go ahead.
You said if you agree to get the data in the system, what's stopping you today?
A lot of reasons. Fear, contracts, but I really think it's fear. So here, I gotta come down and give you the, you wanna pass that back? I know you have to just touch it for a second, you can't have it. Okay, all right. So, but that's such a long, I say a long answer. Having been in healthcare, again, since I was 18 and been in health IT for 25, 30 years or whatever, it's like, it is fear. If I'm gonna tell you one thing, that's it, it's fear. We think that our data has quality issues, okay? Across healthcare and life sciences, yes, you have quality issues. Just admit it, get over it, and let AI help you solve it, right? And what that means is that as soon as you uncover the quality issues, then let's go fix them. And AI can help you fix them, right? So we're so afraid of opening up and saying, hey, right, if I look across Atlantic Canada, I promise you have quality data problems. Everywhere I've gone in the world, and that's why I'm just gonna say that's it, right? Everywhere I've gone, everyone has data quality issues in healthcare. So what that means is trash in, trash out. So none of this can be good ultimately accurate if the data, if you take in data that you know has quality issues. So what do you got to do? That's the hard, I say it's not the harder part of this. It's just you have to acknowledge it, and then you got to go fix it. And AI can help you do that. So I'm out of time, but I'll explain how to do. I'm just kidding, how to do that. But thank you guys all for your time.